Right, so what are we going to talk about? Well, as NASA, the American Space Administration, begins a major search for alien life out there in space, we'll be asking, are the boffins off their rockers, or is E.T. just waiting to pick up the phone? And if he is this what he looks like? You're very welcome back to Central Weekend. Now, after years denying that any research was being conducted into the possibility of ETs or extraterrestrial life, the American government has now come clean in a big way. It set up a branch of the NASA Space Administration called SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Now, these aren't pointy-headed eccentrics who can't park cars, but full-time government scientists. But are they out of the large minds, or is E.T. really out there? Well, let's find out. Heather Cooper, well-known astronomer and TV pundit on such matters. NASA is spending $100 million over 10 years on this, so presumably they believe that there are little green men out there or something like that.
Oh, come off it, Eamon. Little green men, no way. But probably intelligent alien beings, possibly more intelligent than you.
Well, that wouldn't be hard. They wouldn't have to go too far to find that. Terry Mullins, now, we have Eurosceptics. I suppose I could describe you as a UFO skeptic.
Yes.
$100 million. A waste of money?
It depends what they really want it for, isn't it? It's more than likely there's some strategic element in this, where they're saying they're going off to examine to see if there's any beings in space, but really what they're doing is seeing how the land lies up there to establish a space station where they can keep an eye on us down here.
Absolute rubbish at this point, because we've done a programme, as you know, which is coming out on Channel 4 on Sunday, and I've talked to the guys who've been lobbying the American government for 30 years because they really do believe there are very intelligent alien beings out there who could teach us a thing or two. And these guys have been banging their heads against brick walls saying, all we need is some finance to try to tune in to signals that might just be going through the Earth even as we speak. And if they had the microchips and the radio telescopes in order to actually tune into those signals, we might stand to learn a great deal.
Yes,
but is this the way we learn a great deal, one wonders? Raj Persaud, I mean, for years people have been coming forward and saying, I have seen an extraterrestrial, a close encounter of the third kind or whatever. And you have interviewed, dealt with people who've actually believe they've seen extraterrestrials.
This is the problem. I mean, what is the hard evidence that there are aliens out there or extraterrestrials? The only hard evidence we have are groups of people who claim to have seen lights in the sky and UFOs. Some people claim to have met aliens. Some people even claim to have been abducted by aliens. And I have a couple of people who I've met who actually claim to be aliens. Now,
I think I know those people.
The problem is when you interview these people and when psychiatrists and psychologists study these people, they find that these are not members of the general population. These are not ordinary people. They're people who have quite clearly a different set of beliefs. They are fantasy prone, they tend to believe in the paranormal, spiritualism, all sorts of weird beliefs that most people don't have.
Let's see. Well, you can judge at home, you can judge here in the audience, because we actually have people who claim that they have seen extraterrestrials and been spirited away by them or taken away. Linda Jones is one such person. I don't know how representative you are of the general population, but tell us your story, Linda. It happened 13 years ago.
It happened 13 and a half years ago. I was walking down the river bank near where I live, and this object came overhead of us. It was like a glowing ball, like an oval shape. We ducked in the grass because we thought this object was going to hit us. The object then veered over to the right of us, dropped vertically in a field. We ran to have a look to see what it was, and it was this girder-shaped, lattice-shaped thing, shaped like a boat, with a light on the top that seemed to be separated, and it was just hovering roughly 2 foot off the ground, not making any noise at all.
Now, you believe you were actually taken away by this thing?
I underwent regressive hypnosis 10 years ago, and I can only quote what I have seen on videotapes. I do not remember my account.
You don't remember, but basically, briefly, what happened under hypnosis? What do you believe happened?
We thought we ran away from this object, but under hypnosis it's a very different story. We ran into this being, dark-suited, slanted eyes, a tall being, and then there was a sensation of floating, then an examination.
Okay, that's Linda's story. Alan Godfrey has a story, and Alan Godfrey's a policeman. As we all know, policemen don't tell lies. Let's, what's your story?
It's not Channel 4, is it? I take offence to what that guy said, that the general public that do see UFOs generally believe that they've seen them. I was on patrol, and another 6 police officers, that's including myself, actually saw a UFO. I got within 25 yards of one. It was actually down on the ground, it wasn't up in the sky, it was down on the ground, it was blocking a main road, and I got within 25 yards of it. And I have never, ever seen an object like it before or since.
Well, Raj, does that make this man unbalanced?
No, I'm not saying that people who've experienced UFOs or claim to have been abducted by aliens are unbalanced. What I'm saying is that in the realm of human experience, these people have definitely experienced something. The question is, have they experienced what actually they claim to have experienced? That's the real question.
Well, put it this way. I stand up in a court of law and give evidence. I give evidence on numerous things.
As a policeman?
As a policeman, as what I've seen. I saw this object, as did other police officers. It was not of this earth. Believe you me.
How do you know it wasn't of this Earth?
Oh, well, obviously it was on Earth.
Yes, exactly.
So
could it
it's
have been
quite
something
funny.
military?
The Americans
why
denied
do
the
people-
stealth bomber. It could be
Why do people who
man-made.
claim to see things that are unusual think they're extraterrestrial? You see, the
I
point
don't
is,
think they're
I strongly
extraterrestrial,
believe
dear.
that most...
Well, let's see, what is the
science-
difference
Can I
here,
put the
then?
scientist point of view here?
Yeah.
The scientists who are doing this SETI search, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence at the moment, are not people who claim to have seen people coming out of UFOs. They're people who think that statistically the odds are in favour of life in space. We are a very ordinary planet going around a very ordinary star. There are 9 planets going around our sun. Our sun, there are probably about 200 billion suns in our galaxy. Ergo, there are billions of planets. The stuff that you and I are made of, the chemicals we're made of, are extremely common. The carbon that we're made of, which makes up virtually everything on Earth, from a leaf to an amoeba to you and I. Now, we scientists do believe that life is common, but what we don't believe, because it's virtually impossible in terms of energy terms, to actually travel through space, even if you were actually going to do it millions of years of advanced life ahead of ours, it would just not be cost effective to make that journey.
Right, so, yeah.
What you're saying is at our present level of knowledge. Now, you remind me of the early Marconi radio experiments. Did not physicists say that Marconi was talking out of the back of his neck because radio curves cannot travel around the curvature of the Earth's surface? But when he conducted his experiment, transmitting a radio message from, I believe, a ship in New York Harbor to Cornwall, what they reckoned without with was the ionosphere. The radio waves can bounce. Now, what you're saying, basically, you're speaking at our level of knowledge. You said before there could be a lot of civilizations out there, more advanced than us, more intelligent than us.
Yes.
You are really trying to gag their level of knowledge. Why not just say, we don't know what Alan Godfrey saw? We don't know.
Okay, but
Question
she's
mark.
saying this is the most effective way to use resources to try and find out what is out there, is it?
No, I mean $100 million, which is really a shot in the dark, and that's putting it mildly. I take offence at what the gentleman said there. Myself and my colleagues can produce numerous eyewitnesses, 2 of which you've just spoken to today. There is also a small amount of photographs and physical evidence as well.
But
And
what is this evidence?
well, if you just let me finish, he also claimed that people who claim these experiences are fantasy prone. That is incorrect. Psychological testing in the United States of so-called abductees did in fact show that they were just general members of the public from all walks of life. They were not fantasy prone. They
But
were not
why
clinically
do
insane.
these creatures, if they're that much more intelligent than we are on Earth, choose people, well, I mean, they're nice people enough, choose our friend who's a policeman and our lady, a friend there, why choose them when they're seem to be miles away from anywhere, you know? If I was an intelligent being from outer space, instead of just one from Hackney, I would turn up
You say,
in
you say,
Parliament or the royal family.
right,
or
just
something.
come out in the open, come out where you can be seen. Now, it's also funny, it also has to be said
I'd stay away from Parliament if I were you.
In human terms, you're looking at it from the viewpoint
Well, I happen
of
to
a
be
human
human,
being.
yes.
We're
I have to
dealing
admit to
with,
that.
inverted commas, an alien phenomenon. That doesn't necessarily mean extraterrestrials, but we are dealing with an alien phenomenon.
Okay, want to talk about evidence here, and what these aliens make themselves visible to. They tend to like policemen quite a lot because, take a look at this. Tell me what you make of this. Now, this is a picture, again, Peter, you can explain this, taken by a policeman on Yorkshire Moor, Ilkley Moor, yeah?
Yes, this is one we did earlier, using the British police. Actually, it was taken on the 1st of December 1987 by a former police officer who was walking across the moors.
Right, now what is that? Is it a Yeti? Is that what you regard as physical evidence? Is it a tree stump? What is that? What do you think that is? You're a UFO expert.
I don't lay any claims to what this photograph is. It's 4'6" tall, we know that because we've taken measurements. We have had a lot of help with this case from various scientists and analysts and so on. We can't get to the bottom of it.
Can you name the scientists, please?
Yes, Dr. Ray Leonard, who's head of the Total Technology Department at UMIST. He's assisted us on this case.
What did he say?
Yeah,
what is that?
He says he doesn't have an explanation for it.
So he says he doesn't
That is
know.
a fair assessment.
Right, yes,
For goodness sake, couldn't it be?
You're talking about
couldn't it be a
aliens.
different-
I'm not talking about aliens.
Right,
I'm
okay.
talking about an unknown phenomenon.
But what do you think the photograph
The
proves?
witness, getting back to this gentleman, the witness has been tested by a clinical psychologist,
He ought to be.
and his assessment is the man is not fantasy prone.
But what do you think the photograph proves exactly?
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying the photograph proves anything.
Well, so what's
but
the point?
photograph is there and it needs to be
But
investigated.
there are cases of photographs
But
of
it could be
fairies.
anything.
It's no good. It's no good.
Even in Yorkshire again, there were fairies were photographed. Oh, I think
In
so.
1990, there was a rush of multi-radar visual sightings over Belgium. I, earlier this year, interviewed a Professor Schweitzer, a Belgian physicist who had been investigating this phenomenon. I went to his hotel in London with my video camera and spent an hour of his time interviewing him. Basically, what he was saying is that what was seen could not be explained in terms of any known aircraft or any known atmospheric or aerial phenomenon. All right, what have you got left? Question mark. We don't know. I think you gentlemen have closed minds. You're saying it can't be.
No, not at
I'm
all.
saying
No,
we
what
don't
I'm
know.
saying is
We're
this.
posing
If
the
we
question.
start
Mine, I've
believing,
got no
if we
mind.
start believing what large groups of people claim to have seen without hard, concrete evidence, you have to start believing the Loch Ness Monster, Atlantis.
Yeah, but we
a
do.
series of
But it is
things.
like the Loch Ness Monster, isn't it? I mean, we actually, isn't there something
Eamon,
within us that
Can I
actually
come
wants to
back to say
believe
the
that there is something out there?
problem that let me go back to this search in America again. We've suddenly got, well, it's $10 million for the first year just to literally use a radio telescope to see if you can find signals coming from stars, or rather planets going around stars out there. The reason why the researchers have had to lobby for 30 years to get this money is because they have been tarred with the brush of people saying, you are out looking for little green men. People like yourselves are discrediting the community of scientists who are looking for life.
But there are also problems with Heather's argument.
Fostered
Yes.
by, I have to say, by the media. This thing of little green men, little green men from outer space. There is
Was a
a
little green
phenomenon,
man,
there is a
wasn't he? He was
UFO
4'6".
phenomenon that deserves to be addressed scientifically. And it is being done, but it's being done on the quiet. It's not
Yeah.
being done
Okay,
in the mainstream
whether it's a little
science.
green man, whether it's a radar pulse, whatever it is, if there is something out there and it bounces back towards us, are we psychologically prepared for whatever comes back?
I think that's another problem that Heather and the NASA scientists aren't confronting.
We
which
are.
is which is that they're out there looking for something,
Yes.
but they're not dealing with the question of what would actually happen if
we
they
are
found
indeed.
So what-
something and
Yeah,
if they were prepared
okay.
for that.
It's
But
a
there's another
very
point.
important
But
question.
there's another point
Yes.
that Heather, for example, isn't confronting. She's talked about statistical evidence. She said it's statistically likely that there's likely to be life on other planets. Well, that's based on a notion of how likely it was that life evolved on our planet.
Yes.
We
I
don't
take
know.
that point, Raj.
We don't know how
No.
life
Let
evolved
Heather
on this
answer.
planet.
I do take that
We don't
point
know how
entirely.
life evolved on this planet,
We
so there's
don't-
no way you can start making probabilistic decisions about the likelihood of life
Heather,
evolving on
briefly
our
answer that,
planet.
because I want to talk to Dr. Jack Cole
Sure,
here.
absolutely, because Jack has got his alien on his lap, and his
Yes.
alien is not house-trained, that alien, and it might just wet his lap in a moment. So we have to be very, very careful. But I will quickly address
It'll
that
leave a
question.
Right, are we
Just a second.
prepared for something coming back in these signals?
Let me answer two questions. First of all, Raj, you've brought up a very important point. Although the conditions on our planet, and we think the conditions on many planets are suitable for life, life might not have evolved there. You might have all the chemicals which were there, but the spark might not be there, as it were, to get them together to make life. We didn't find life on Mars, and that was disquieting.
Yeah, that's not what I'm asking you. What I'm
point
asking
one,
you is-
Point two, which I'm coming to in a moment.
Okay.
Are we prepared psychologically? Yes. These poor old SETI researchers have been waiting for
Are you
30 years,
prepared?
remember.
Are you prepared? What a story.
They are fully prepared for any message. Now, there was a wonderful novel by Fred Hoyle a few years ago called The Black Cloud, where the alien
No, I
intelligence
remember
was...
War of the Worlds. That's the one I remember.
Oh,
That
well,
wasn't
it's a
about
little
Fred
bit
Hoyle.
along from that. And the Black Cloud was an alien entity floating through space which dumped its full sum total of knowledge on this poor scientist, blew his gaskets, blew his brains. He wasn't prepared for it. The scientists here are going to be very careful analysing any message we get. Yes, we are prepared.
we weren't
Over
prepared
to Jack.
We weren't
You're
prepared for
prepared,
coming
but
out of
the
the
public-
ERM, far less for
Well,
meeting an
tell the public.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah,
The public are prepared.
The SETI project,
And
they
the-
don't think the public's prepared because they're not going to immediately release this
course
information.
they will.
I've
You
read, no, they're not. I've
Oh,
read
yes,
the
they
literature.
are.
Prepared.
I've read the literature, and
Okay,
they
let-
are not going to
okay, let's
release
hear
the
Jack- Jack
information
Cohen here.
They're
immediately. It will
prepared
be
in
several
quite
months.
a different way, and we're not now talking science, we're talking science fiction. We're talking Beam Me Up Scotty. We're talking aliens as items replacing elves in children's stories. We're talking about a whole ambience in Western culture. Part of the Make a Human kit
Okay.
that we give to kids includes aliens.
Dr. Faulkner, hold on,
ET is
hold on.
there.
Now, talking about Beam Me Up, Scotty, I mean, we do get a lot of our images about what we think aliens look like from programs like Star Trek.
Indeed.
Right. You would not agree. Basically, in films,
Basically, no.
they're humanoid of some form or other.
Alas, they
Right.
are, because
What's
it's so
this?
much
Our little
cheaper.
friend. Tell us about our little
Our little
friend here.
friend here is an attempt by my friend Dougal Dixon, who's a very good scientist in his own right, an evolutionary biologist. He has a lot of experience, as several of us have, in saying, if it hadn't happened the way it did here, what are the hinge points? What are the different things that could have happened? If we ran evolution different here, Raj believes, being a doctor, that you have to be able to make decisions only
Well,
with
what sort of
concrete
planets
evidence.
would something like that come from? It looks like a big bed
anyone.
bug to
It
me.
might have been here had we not turned up.
Not that I know what a bed
Lots of
bug looks
things.
like, not that I have
Hang on
bugs
a
in it.
minute, Eamon, just hold a moment. I will get something out. Here is something. It's a lot more like me. It's a lot more like me than any alien.
Oh, that one's alive. What is that?
Well, the aliens we're
Keep it away
talking
from that
about
woman,
are alive, Eamon. Come on. We're not talking about stuffed things. We're not talking about people. Can we
What
have
is
a
that?
close-up on this
Can-
from over there? Where's
Yes,
it?
we can. You're okay. You're on. You're on.
Right.
What
If
is
you could
that?
just get his face, it's a stick insect from Australia. It's my cousin. It's so similar to me compared with extraterrestrial life.
But so why do we want to go and communicate with something like that? That's not going to be able to communicate back
This
to
is
us.
this is a very poor and rather uncomplicated
Okay.
bit of life on our planet.
Right, well, let me
But
put another scenario. Nicholas Booth, let me put another scenario here. Just say we make contact with something like there, and it's meaner, bigger, uglier than we are. I mean, are we not dicing with death here? Is
I
this not
think we'd
quite
have already
dangerous?
heard from them. If they were that mean and nasty, they'd already be here. And I think also that there's an American scientist called Frank Drake, who's in this famous thing called the Drake's equation of trying to work out the probability of life forming. And one of the factors is hostility. If it's an aggressive civilization, they probably would have killed themselves off by now. So they wouldn't get to the point where we'd even see them.
On the other hand, they might have killed us off if they were a hostile civilization across the galaxy and had the technology to come here. And one thing we have to remember in this whole search for extraterrestrials is that the Earth is a newcomer on the galactic scene. I mean, the galaxy was around for 10 billion years before the Earth came along, so there could be civilizations much more advanced than us. And if they were hostile, then they've had a long time to get here and wipe us
And the
out.
other thing, it's only a search. We're not saying hello, we're
Well, look,
waiting for the signal.
The other thing is, you can all talk, but these two people say they've seen it.
They've seen something.
They've seen
They
something,
didn't say,
undoubtedly.
neither of them said that they saw aliens from other planets. They were very sensible. They said, we've seen something we didn't understand. The
But
gentleman
do you
there
believe,
said it
Alan,
was
that it was an alien
meaning
from another planet? It certainly
outside
was nothing
experience.
from this planet.
I've never ever said that I've met an alien.
Sure.
I wouldn't know what I'd do if I met one. I mean, I've met a lot of people, and I mean, that guy over there looks more like an alien to me, and he behaves like an alien.
I don't think you'd fancy,
Send them
right?
to Coventry if
Could
I
I
were
comment here regarding these hypnotic regression experiments? I would like to discuss them with the psychiatrist afterwards.
Can I
For the-
raise a
excuse me,
point,
for the
Ava?
last 11 years, I have, by hiring a number of doctors, conducted hypnotic regression experiments on witnesses like Alan here and Linda, who following their UFO sighting have an amnesia. Now this is the interesting part. Not so much that they see a UFO, but something else triggers off the amnesia.
But isn't it very
Now, let me finish. Under hypnosis, these people didn't know each other at the time. I've done about 15 individuals to about 3 or 4 cases, multiple sightings. These people didn't know of each other. Under hypnosis, their accounts are virtually the same. Their blood pressure soars, their pulse rate soars. They are very distressed under hypnosis, and after hypnosis, they cannot remember what they have said, which is why you ask them, have they seen aliens? They don't know, because they can't remember what they've said.
Okay, you've talked to these people. What do you believe?
Personally, I think they are being abducted by something, but I don't know what. And I don't know why, nor where from.
But don't you find that the fact there's amnesia, it's very, very convenient?
Convenient for what?
Well, that obviously they can't remember at the time. What does regression prove? It could prove anything.
Yes, but the account is the same in each case.
Abductees that actually do have amnesia, and they don't all go under regressive hypnosis. And when you compare the full conscious testimony with the testimony that Harry's just talked about under regressive hypnosis, there is no...
But what does it prove? It doesn't prove anything.
If this spaceship comes...
No, it
down,
proves something because there is a...
Heather, when you look at this space... Let's get a scientific aspect on this again. Heather, when you look at what we have achieved in space over the past 30 years or so, landing on the moon, going to Mars, visiting practically every planet there is in our solar system, how far off the day do you think that we are from journalists being invited along to a press conference in Washington, D.C. and an ET placed up on a table there?
I don't think there'll be an ET placed on a table because it would take ET a long time to get here. Even travelling at 1/10 the speed of light, which frankly is the fastest you can go without ploughing into a lot of debris in space, it would just sandblast your spaceship, you would actually probably have an ET message. I would go as far as to say that I strongly believe within 10 years we will have a message from ET which will actually be absolutely mind-blowing, and that's going to be in Washington, D.C.
Well, on that note, I'm afraid we have to leave it. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, never mind ET phoning. You've all been phoning in. Jennifer Jones from Wrexham says, who decides that so-called boffins are experts? They're obviously just nutcases. Shh, 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 shh. I like that bit. Mick Johnson from Birmingham says he cannot believe people find it so difficult to accept the probability of another life form in one of the many galaxies. Clive Sweet from Evesham says, did the policeman who saw a UFO book it for causing an obstruction? Mr. Julian from Great Bar says, why do things have to be discovered? Yes, is the answer, apparently. Discovered by scientists before they're believed. What's wrong with the account from an ordinary person? And Dominic from Kidderminster reckons there is a better chance of aliens existing than there is of God. Well, in part 3, the grease paint, the roar of the crowd, the shouts of, he's behind you. The stars defend pantos against critics who say that they're sexists. They contain too many soap stars and are well past their sell-by date. The performance begins in 2 minutes.